Thank you, Laura. And thanks, John, for that. Quite interesting. It's amazing how you think you know something until you realize that you didn't have a hold on it. No, but with introduction of AI, especially in regards to customer satisfaction, how do you handle the fact that the human touch will now be eliminated? Yes, so thank you, Norbert, for that. I think AI is created and operated, obviously, by humans, and there is not a drive to completely eliminate human touch. It is just to enhance what the human is able to do. If I need to ask 25 questions to get to know the details about my account, how about have the first 20 handled in an easier way using obviously the chatbot, then leave the rest of the 5 to an agent. So the drive has never been to replace the human, because we only need AI to think and mimic the human interaction, but not really discontinue the human interaction. John, I don't know if you want to add anything on to Norbert's question.
Yeah, Norbert, when you talk about privacy of data, one of the important things you do know is that there are also AI solutions, which is called AI for privacy, that actually acts as what we call a security agent, which is a computerized model that actually is much more intelligent than any type of privacy or privacy data solution or security solution that you might have at the minute. So there is no better way to actually manage privacy issues and leakage or fraudulent issues than actually building AI models that self-learn to do that themselves. Because what happens is in nanoseconds, they're able to process and sequence different types of modules that might happen. And I don't think any human can do that.
Okay. Thanks for that, John. Well said. I think Norbert has another question that says, all right, okay, let me take Peter Kanda. Peter says, how is the lack of enough testing data impacting the bias in your COVID data, and how is the bias handled in your AI algorithm? I think that's yours, John.
So Peter, the first thing that you do is with any model that you build to be artificially intelligent. Remember, the first thing I talked about was without data sets, your machine is just an empty piece of software and lines of code. That's all it is. But now, once you understand that, I don't have existing, data around testing or those type of information, then we're building prediction models that allow us to understand what potential outbreaks could look like and how those outbreaks could be managed, and how we could then help the people who have the limited testing kits to be able to focus their energy on areas with high propensity of outbreaks. So that is how we manage that. Then as you get more testing kits, then you're also able to sequence what's the potential ratio of increase in the disease infection would be like based on the value of the testing, the time of the testing, and the ability for the testing to reach the people. So that is sort of how we maneuver that sort of information around AI and COVID. The next question is, what can you say about the data privacy, particularly with context of health data? John, those are very important questions because at the end of the day, privacy is a huge issue, especially in our space, health and financial service. It's really, really important to be able to build solutions within your platform that allows you to also understand how privacy issue is managed and how you also use your AI bot to begin to learn about the privacy and the security between you, the customer, and the person who actually accesses the data or the different access data points. So we call them vigilantes. So you build vigilantes at different access points on your platforms. And those are different types of AI models that are trained, again, to look at cybersecurity and not these type of issues as well, as we feed them with more data. And also remember, we build on staging environments. So we can actually pre-load data and also simulate a lot of different types of hacking or effects before we even launch platform. But again, this thing is a continuous learning process. I hope that answers your questions. And then Harry, you're asking any models you're building for disease detection? Yes, we are. We are working with an African institute. I can't really name names right now, but we are working with an African institute to look at 3 different disease types that actually have nothing to do with COVID, because we are actually a health platform, and obviously collecting health data is our first business, but the second business is how do we use AI for disease modeling, cognitive disease modeling, and building specific type of models around how diseases can be handled.
Yes, I think we have a question on by Kessia. Just for everyone to hear, is with AI, won't individuals experience a loss of control over their lives or decision making? Thanks, Kessia, for that. But I'm of the opinion that on the contrary, we will be able to make better decisions. We will have more data. And actually how AI models, especially as how John has done it, is presented is from working from a perspective of data. So how much data you share, you're able to control how much data you want to share. You'll be able to control how much data you want to consume. And I gave you an example, very easy, close to home, Netflix. I love how Netflix is able to quickly display for me the movies or the series that I'm likely to enjoy without me having to scroll down through thousands. So I will be able to make decisions better. I don't know, John, if you want to add on to that.
I mean, it's interesting that you said Netflix. Netflix uses AI, conversational AI, around preferential data and a lot of cognitive decision making, which is based around emotional management, and also tie that with, what you call sense of see. Because what you're doing is they're also, providing you with accuracy of where they want to push you to. So when you're in London and you have the same Netflix, what you see is completely different. But also you might see the same thing because it's also playing on the emotional connection that you've actually based your preferences on. So these things are part of the social survival skills that, we also as individuals will learn. But I want to quickly take Dr. Charles's question. One of the key things places I believe AI has the highest amount of opportunity to help us as humans is in health sector. And honestly, from what we've seen over the past, year and a half of our research, when you look at sequencing around vaccines, what do you use to do that? It's actually artificial intelligence when they go into those labs. When they sequence a vaccine in 18 months or 6 months, before it would have taken 4, 5, 6 years to do the same thing. Okay, and this are getting, the time scale is reducing consistently because with that same vaccine, before you even try it out to even make sure that it works, you've already done multiple variables that tell you that potentially vaccine number 1, vaccine number 2, vaccine number 3 could have these side effects. And when you now layer that on specific diseases, we will probably be able to solve a lot of disease type problems and treat people in real time quicker and faster than we've ever done with AI. And when it comes to, neural networks, where you build machine learning tools that become completely self-learning and actually acts as a surgeon and can help doctors make decisions before they go into the operation room. That means they can save your life quicker than having to have you wait for 6 months while they're researching possible solutions.
Great, John. I think I saw an interesting question here, tying into what you've just discussed on health and use of data. Irene Chami goes, any horror stories of misinterpretation of data resulting in bad decision making? Tying into, the various use cases, especially in health.
Yeah,
Have you experienced, a data set that was expected an output X and gave totally W?
We have seen, again, the data set itself does not give you what you don't give back to it. What happens is, and it ties to the question of ethical AI. If you definitely build a machine learning tool that is set to do X, and the learning sequence of that machine learning itself presents itself to what you've actually built it for, it will basically provide the same type of information that the data set gives it. Machine learning tools don't lie. I mean, there is a if you look at Sophie, for example, Sophie's smarter than most people. Well, almost everybody, because she learns in nanoseconds every information, and then she uses that information to run so many different variables and comes up with multiple different decision-making formulas that you can then choose what you want. So Sophie is only based on this information that she's getting from the world. But at some point, she gets that intelligent that she's like, okay, well, I think I can do this better. And that is when it really turns into a self-learning tool. And there is a particular research that's going on at the minute where what we call live self-learning tools can actually operate tools that are actually not live. So effectively, a machine intelligence solution, which could be an Android, can actually operate a toaster or fire. There's all these things that's happening at the minute that, it definitely tells you that the data you put in is the data you get out. And I stand by my word. If you put in the wrong set of data and you build the wrong sort of model, that's exactly what you're going to get. And that is where the big problem is. It's in the human error, less the machine error. How does AI help in e-commerce, especially in broadcasting content? One of the interesting things, if you watched, there's this channel in China during Alibaba's, I think it's Black Friday in November, and they use a conversational model that is based on cognitive intelligence that allows them to actually understand the emotional connection of the consumer when they're even talking to them around, specific question types that they push to the consumer. And then it begins to model what emotional state of mind the person is. And they actually throw specific product to that person on a live TV channel of buying things. I mean, that is absolutely amazing. When you think about the amount of data set that they have to run through so quickly and so fast, and obviously when I was previewed to see that and learn about it. So when it comes to e-commerce and broadcasting, there's a number of different types of data sets that are coming from different areas, and filtering those data sets and creating modules. And that's what you call like a linear model, where you're creating models that speak to each other in real time. That's also how AI can help you make that decision, decide which customer to talk to, decide how to actually raise the value of that customer, and also decide how to actually make the quick decisions while you're talking to the person in real time.
I think we answered Dr. Charles in terms of health sector, or is this something new, John? I think we had done this one.
Yeah, we have. We've done that one. So I think.
Yeah, I think there's a lot on the, okay, we have how can AI ethical issues, how are they being addressed? Is there a regulator locally, internationally?
I think that, last 2 years ago, no, it was last year, we went to Geneva for the ITU AI for Good, where I was speaking at the UN, at the conference, the UN conference in the ITU about AI for good and ethical AI, which is something that for me, I'm very passionate about because it is an issue that needs to be brought up. But you cannot regulate at the minute something you don't understand. And, regulators, first of all, must get involved in AI. And two, we must teach our young people who are actually using AI or building AI models about ethical AI, because they just building models that they want to do certain type of things, or they're building models, machine learning tools that they want to get ahead of the curve, or teach that machine learning tool to short circuit information and use it to create dysfunctional values for maybe other customers. Now that machine learning tool is going to learn so many different type of things because of the way the owner has built it. Back to what I said, ethical AI starts from the human, and being able to teach people that, machine tools can actually become very intelligent. And based on what you've taught them, it's actually possible for them also to actually function in that way going forward. So is there an international regulator? Not really. There's the ITU that is working hard around AI for good and, global good concept for artificial intelligence. Most governments in Africa still really don't understand AI at all, because we have very little visibility apart from South Africa. President Ramaphosa, in his speech around the African Union, was talking about AI and 4IR being the leapfrog for Africa. Yes, it's true, but how? The question is, how many AI experts do we even have in Africa? If you look at Kenya, how many people can actually say that they are AI engineers, not data scientists, like a real AI engineer? So these are all the things. So education, learning, and also interaction with government is a hugely important part of how we actually are able to manage the issues of ethical AI.
Okay, I can see one more question around which tools are you using for your AI? And then there's one last one by Kelvin Simiu. What are the type cyber disruption we are seeing in AI as much as we want to embrace it to solve our data processing incapabilities?
I mean, we use, for our AI engineers, a lot of them come with Python, R experience, and we use K-means, and also Graph, and we're also trying to build our own internal modules as well, based on a combination of language tools that we can use to build an off-the-shelf product that we can just plug and play for companies. So those are the initial tools that we start off with. We advise most people who really want to get into proper AI or who are data scientists to focus on those, and then obviously you can go on this other type of tool, this QL and all the type of tools that you can use as well. The cyber disruption issue. There are quite a few. I mean, in Russia and Ukraine, we're seeing where AI is becoming cyber disruptive. I mean, what happened in Berkeley a couple of years ago was actually an AI tool that mirrored a cyber network and effectively just took all the data from the cyber network that the data was supposed to go to and just mirrored a new one completely and mimic the whole structure and the whole sequence. So there are disruptions that are happening, but that does not mean, like any technology, I still believe that the future for Africa and the world is with artificial intelligence. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, John. And I think we had a similar question on especially zero-day attacks. I think we already answered it. And in everything, we can make technology do what we want it to do. So if we don't practice ethical, coding, then we have to have the mindset not to disrupt. But more importantly, for those, especially as an end user, is you must always have your cyber security team, side by side when you're doing all these initiatives, be it AI, be it any new technology, because they then have the expertise to determine any loopholes. I think that will be in addition to what John said.
All right. Thank you very much, Georgina and John, for an interesting and insightful session. As usual, ladies and gentlemen, we will share the recording of the session. My sincere apologies for the couple of hitches that we had. But I'm sure we all do understand technology, Murphy's Law, how things, sometimes just what you plan or how you plan, how well you plan, sometimes things fall apart. I'm sure you're all aware of that. I think we will send you a feedback form. Kindly do share with us feedback. It is important for our upcoming webinars. As usual, we do have another webinar coming up next week on Tuesday on cloud in the age of COVID-19. Kindly join us. We've received a few emails from you requesting us to send invitations much earlier, notifying you of the upcoming webinars. If you go to our registration page, you will see all the webinars that have been lined up going forward. So you can just register in advance for any of the webinars that you're interested in. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for joining us. As usual, you are a fantastic audience, and I look forward to you joining us next week, Tuesday. Have a fantastic Labor Day and continue to get some rest. What you realize is that working from home is not as simple as you thought it was. You find yourselves working extra hours than if you are actually physically sitting in an office. So get some time to rest tomorrow and spend time with your family. Take care, and we'll see you next week, Tuesday. Bye-bye.